So real quick story. Travis and I have known each other for probably close to 12 or so years. We were actually on a cruise together, but not together. We didn't know each other then. And there was an event going on that we were supposed to be in, but the Buckeyes were playing, and he and his wife snuck off to see the Buckeyes game, and I snuck off with my wife, and we looked at each other, and it was kind of funny. And that's how we started our relationship. So I knew I liked this guy to begin with. If you're not a Buckeyes fan, it's all good. But anyhow, so Travis and I have known each other for quite some time. He's been a very, very successful person in the direct selling affiliate industry. Master distributor of a few companies. I've always watched Travis's stuff. He puts out he's very, very professional. You're going to see that he's very, very professional. And then I've been in the space for a long time myself, but Travis and I were basically both in the same company for the last 2 years. We were sidelined to each other. We just knew each other. Obviously we get along. And then, I knew that Travis was probably going to depart from that company because I was going to probably do the same due to some issues, that kind of thing. We've all been through that. And then what happened was Travis had said that he was looking at a project that he was being introduced to about a commodity-based crypto. Now I'm about a third grade level of crypto. I know most of you guys are probably way up there than I am, and I've just learned it. I understood those two phrases. However, I didn't really pay attention to Travis 90 days ago. And then he left me one more message. And then one more message came in about 2.5 weeks ago where he left me a voice message and said, "Hey, I know you're busy. I know you got stuff going on, but what are you doing with your money? I might have something for you to kind of, to look at, that kind of thing, a project I've been working on," I mentioned. And I called him, and because my wife heard the message, I played it out loud. And my wife, being the smartest of the two of us, told me to just call him and listen, and I did, and I was absolutely floored. Like I'm floored because I've seen all kinds of these types of businesses, and I typically turn a lot of them down. And when he explained the way the crypto and the nodes worked, because it wasn't just buying a meme coin, it wasn't buying something that just was hyped up, it was backed by a real commodity. It got my attention because I want to get into the crypto space a little more intensively, but didn't trust all the other, hype stuff. And so Travis basically has explained this to me. And then I called Rakuten up, J-Rack, I call him, or you guys might call him John, J-Rack up. And I said, "Hey, got a buddy. He's done about $500,000 in about 90 days in his project. He's got these things called nodes. I'm starting to figure them out. Can I send you something to listen to?" And I did. And then John came back to me and said, "Mike, do you even know what you have your hands on?" I go, "No, but I'm pretty fired up about it." And that was pretty much how it started. And then obviously you guys are here as a result of that phone call from Travis to me. So Travis has done a phenomenal job. Everybody's got good things to say about Travis. So Travis, I'm going to pass it on to you because I don't want to keep rambling here. But just so you guys know too, we all do this primarily full time. Like I'm available if you need me. Travis is available if you need him. John, and I really think we're going to just crush this thing. So Travis Flaherty, take it over, my friend.
Hey, thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. John, thank you for putting the call together, and I appreciate everybody's time today. I'd like to start off by just sharing a little bit of my background, primarily in the cryptocurrency space. So I have been involved with cryptocurrency for about 6 years. In fact, back in 2018, when Bitcoin went from about 19,000 to 3,000 and Ethereum lost about 94% of its value, I was the guy that was waving the flag saying, "Hey guys, now's a great time to buy." And back then, the media, all the news outlets were talking about how the bubble had burst and how it was over. And so I'm a big cryptocurrency enthusiast, and I love everything that crypto stands for the people, by the people, a peer-to-peer network, getting the banks and the institutions out of the middle of our transactions. And so I'm a big fan. However, I also recognize that for us to be able to move the needle in the cryptocurrency space, there really needs to be some substance, some tangibility, and less speculation and less hype. If you look at the last bull run, it was filled with a lot of meme coins and pump and dump coins and ICOs and rug pulls. And, you've got projects that are fluctuating 80 to 90%, depending on whether or not Elon Musk is in a good mood or bad mood, and he's tweeting about it. And so, we really, right now you see in the global environment, about 4% of the population currently has a cryptocurrency wallet. And they're predicting that over the next 12 to 18 months, that will grow to about 10%. And so when I look at, I ask myself questions like, what's it going to take to move that needle? And for me, I believe that we need projects that actually have true utility, projects that are bringing substance to the table. And I've said for years that the moment that somebody tokenizes a commodity, fortunes would be created. And what I mean by that is taking an actual coin or a token and backing it with something of substance. Think about the dollar back in, prior to 1972, it was backed by the gold standard. In 1972, Richard Nixon removed the gold standard. And what has happened to the value of our dollar ever since? It's lost 86% of its overall value. So in that same way, especially when there's a recession, when we're dealing with consumer prices that are going through the roof, typically people look for three things. Number one, smart money diversifies in a recession. They look for cash flow. They look for stored value. They look for upside potential. And those are the things that I've been looking for inside of the cryptocurrency space. And it's few and far between. There's a lot of projects that talk about what we're going to do, when we get this blockchain built out, or when we raise enough funds to be able to complete our project. But there's not a lot of projects that are out there that are truly backed by something. I got a call from a friend of mine about 4 months ago, and he said, look, I don't know what you're doing with your money right now, but it's an interesting time in the world. We're facing inflation rates that, many of us have never lived through before, highest in probably 40 years. You've got the housing market that's overinflated at this point. You've got the stock market that is just, a disaster this year. It lost another 14%, or the S&P lost another 14% just last month. You've got approximately $9 trillion that's been lost. Over 5 trillion retirees alone have lost over $5 trillion this year. You've got cryptocurrency as a whole that's pretty much trading sideways right now, and not a lot of excitement or momentum there. And so that really begs the question, what do you do with your money? If you leave it sitting in a checking or savings account, you're susceptible to inflation rates and essentially losing money. And with the pricing, read an article this morning, they said that, I was looking at all the different increases in prices with gasoline and with travel and with food, and they estimate that the average American is giving up approximately 1/12 of their income right now to recession, rising costs of consumer prices just across the board. And so, it's a really good question. What are you doing with your money right now? Is how he kind of led off that conversation. And he said, look, I've got something that you really need to take a look at. And he introduced me to these commodity backed nodes that we're going to be talking about today. And I have to tell you that the moment that I heard commodity backing, it really did get my attention. And, just to give you a little bit of history of the company that we're going to be talking about today, it's founded by a gentleman by the name of Jason and Jake, or brothers by the name of Jason and Jake Anderson. These guys started off mining Bitcoin when it was under $100 per coin. I did obviously quite well, if you could imagine getting involved in Bitcoin back then. I'm sure many of us that are on this call today, we all have our story, right? My story was I heard about Bitcoin when it was about $300 per coin. I got a friend of mine who called and said, listen, you've got to get in on this thing called Bitcoin. I says, well, what is it? He says, it's digital currency. I says, digital currency. And he says, yeah, you can. I said, okay, so can you hold it? He says, no, it's digital. And I says, okay, so you can't hold it. You can't see it. Where can you spend it? He says, we can't really spend it anywhere. And I says, well, how do you buy it? He says, well, you have to find somebody who's selling it. And I said, okay, so let me get this straight. You want me to spend $300 on a coin that I can't buy anything with? I got to find somebody who's selling it. And it sounds like I've got to go into a dark alley somewhere to meet this guy. And if I want to go sell it, I got to do the same thing. And I said, no, thanks. I think I'm going to pass on your digital currency. And then I remember seeing it go up to $1,300 per token and kicking myself and thinking, man, now there's no way I'm never going to spend $1,300 for a coin or a token that you can't see, you can't hold, you can't touch. And we all know the rest of the story, right? So obviously getting involved early in projects, there's great potential there, especially if that project happens to solve a problem. And so here these guys were mining Bitcoin, and from there they started a venture capital and a hedge funds, and that hedge fund was very, very successful. Made a lot of accredited investors a lot of money. They ended up going over to Ghana and spent 10 years in Ghana, where they mined precious metals, gold, palladium, silver, and primarily oil, and developed a really good relationship with the royalty families, the king himself, and the government officials there. About 5 years ago, they came across a technology that they pioneered that has the ability to be able to scan the Earth, utilizing the same satellites that bring you Google Maps, Google Earth, um, and ultimately identify pockets of oil in the ground, as well as other commodities, but not just find them, they can pinpoint it to within 6 centimeters in the ground. And the reason why that's so significant is because up to this point, they use seismic readings to be able to identify where oil is, and it's not very accurate. As much as 70 to 80% of the wells that are drilled are actually dry. And oil companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year looking for A, oil, or B, the right entry points into these different chambers so that they can maximize the extraction process. So having a technology that has the ability to be able to identify these types of commodities literally to within 6 centimeters, obviously is of value. And so once they pioneered it, they had to prove it. And so they partnered with some smaller oil companies originally, some exploratory companies, and they said, look, all we want is we just want royalties. Anything that we help you find, we just want royalties on those projects. And so they partnered with a company called Western Oil initially, and they found their first well in Nevada. This was a well that was drilled in the 50s and 60s. They thought that it had gone dry. And lo and behold, with this scan technology, and by the way, John, if you could give me screen sharing rights, that would be wonderful. I don't have the rights to do that, but they were able to find a well, a chamber that they thought had gone dry, but they found 400 million barrels of oil. They had enough oil to be able to extract over the next 10 years, 5,500 or 5,000 barrels of oil a day. You can see the scan right here in pink, kind of get just a quick kind of a glimpse of what that looks like. And sorry about that, let me go back here. And so that was really a big turning point for them, because it was kind of the first proof of concept that, hey, look, guys, what we have here actually does work. It does make a difference. And so from there, they started to attract some additional exploratory partners, and they've been able to find mines, 16 different targets in Texas, 17 different targets in Nebraska. We've got all kinds of locations throughout Africa as well. And so they've been able to attract a number of these different exploratory companies to the point now where we're partnered with companies such as BP, Shell, Exxon, their exploratory companies that they bring on board essentially to be able to go out and find these wells. With our technology, what we do is we just assist in the process of helping them to identify, and we receive royalties from each one of these debt partners. So from there, what happened is they ultimately decided that they, they're big cryptocurrency fans. They wanted to introduce a token or a coin that was backed by the oil, and more specifically, the proceeds, the royalties that came from these oil wells. They wanted to introduce something of tangibility. And so they launched their first project inside of their ecosystem called Black Gold. And this particular project launched in November. And within a matter of 3 to 4 months, the coin just started to take off. Why? Because not only did crypto enthusiasts recognize that, hey, here's a project of substance, there's tangibility here, we like what we hear, but it also started to pave the way for people that had been watching cryptocurrency, but they were a little bit gun shy about getting involved in pulling the trigger and purchasing crypto because of the volatility. And so the fact that there was actually something backing the token created a safe landing, if you will, for a lot of people that had been thinking about getting involved in the cryptocurrency space. The project shot up, went up over 110,000%, created over 1,000 millionaires, 7-figure portfolio holders. In fact, 1 every 3 days inside of their ecosystem. So it was one of the more successful projects to come out of 2021. Since that time, they've launched a number of other projects, one of which was launched on May 1st of this year. It's called NatG, natural gas. Where there's oil, there's often natural gas. We have one particular site, and I've actually been to the site. I've stood there, I've smelled the oil. We've had a chance to be able to go through the process with the engineers and learn all about it. But we have a site right now that we are in the final stages of testing, and we have unofficial reports now that confirm that this particular site here is considered a dolomite. A dolomite is a sand dune that is underground that produces some of the largest oil reserves in the world. Saudi Arabia is built on dolomites. So we have already hit our first 3 payloads, and now we're going down to where we believe we have a reserve with over 1,600 acres of oil and natural gas. This one particular site alone has over $1.7 trillion dollars worth of natural gas and sitting in just this one location. So we actually have more natural gas by dollar, by volume, than any other commodity that we have. This particular mining rig that you see here is one of the largest mining rigs in the United States. This sits on private property, so we don't have to worry about government regulation. It's on private land so that we can do whatever we want with it. This is a farmer that owns this land. Prior to us, had partnered with 2 other oil companies over the last 10 years, and not once were they ever able to find oil. With our scan technology, we told them not only where the oil was, we actually told them the depth that we would hit the first payload was at 7,640 square feet. And lo and behold, right at 7,640, we hit our first payload. And we've got this little guy in the blue down here is the engineer. He's run some of BP and Shell's largest sites over 40 years, said he's never seen anything like this before. Came out of retirement specifically because of our scan technology and just the accuracy that it brings to the industry. And so pretty cool to be able to experience that firsthand. Natural gas launched on May 1st. It's currently up over 4,500%. Considering that we are in an environment right now where most projects, stocks across the board are down, and many of them are way down, the fact that we have black gold that's still up approximately 70,000%. You have Nat G that's now up 4,000 to 5,000%, and many other projects really validates the overall purpose and value that this company is bringing to the table. The company that I'm referring to again is called DebtBox. You can go to the debtbox.com and you can learn all about them, read all about them, just kind of see who they are. DET stands for decentralized, eco-friendly blockchain technology. The entire purpose of this project was not only to bring substance, to replace hype with substance, and to replace speculation with tangibility. They wanted to minimize the volatility that some of these projects experience, again, at the flip of just negative news or whatever the case might be. And that's exactly what they've been able to accomplish. And so with that, we've now sold over 1 million licenses in 19 countries around the world inside of 12 months. It's gaining a lot of notoriety and a lot of attention very, very quickly. So here at the DebtBox, what they've been able to do is they've been able to take the concept of mining, which was a relatively complicated topic to discuss and a relatively complicated process to implement. If you ever knew anybody that was mining, let's say Bitcoin or Ethereum, even 5 years ago, they probably had a lot of machines that were in their home. They had to run the air conditioning, maybe at 50 or 60 degrees so that they didn't overheat. They were burning up gaming cards. Probably remember a few years ago, gaming cards, no one could get them, even for, the gaming sites that are games that our children play, because everybody was using them to try and mine Bitcoin. It's a very expensive process. Some states now are, like New York, for example, are trying to ban and make it illegal because of how expensive it is and how much energy that it requires. So what these guys have been able to do is completely simplify the process. For those of you that don't really understand mining, very simple concept and way to look at it is you're basically taking the banks out of the middle of the transaction. You become the middleman. The software that you have and the license essentially helps to process transactions, and you get paid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as your digital software is working for you. Typically, we have 2 options. The first option is cloud mining. The second option is to have an actual physical DebtBox sent to you. We are experiencing, just like everyone else, supply chain issues. And so we're still kind of waiting on the full inventory of DebtBoxes to arrive. So currently we are allowing everyone to be able to mine or cloud mine at no charge. We are very close to having the DebtBoxes sent out. One box looks like a router, requires about $3 to $4 a month in electricity, and you can hang up to 20 licenses on one box. So you've got, basically what these guys have done is they've simplified the process, and it's as simple as 1, 2, and 3. You buy a software mining license. That license varies in price depending on, the demand and supply and demand of those licenses. So there's always a limited amount of those licenses. When they sell out, they're gone. the price point of the token itself, and of course, just again, how well the overall project is performing. And as you get closer and closer to being sold out, you see the prices of the licenses go up. All of our licenses are guaranteed for a minimum of 10,000 days, which is a little over 10 years. They are perpetual licenses. So as long as there's enough oil or gas or whatever the commodity is that's backing the project, it will go on beyond that 10 years. But the smart contracts are guaranteed for a minimum of 4,000 days. So step one is you buy a mining license, depending on which project that you want to participate in. Step two, once that license is activated, which is done on the DebtBox side, typically within about 2 to 3 business days, your license is now showing in your debt wallet, which I'm going to show you guys in just a moment. And you begin receiving tokens every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can do a few different things with those tokens. Number one, you can cash them in daily. There is no restriction on how long you have to hold the token for. There's full liquidity in every single one of our projects. You can go look up all of our liquidity pools on the blockchain. We are on, I believe, somewhere around 7 or 8 different exchanges now as well. So everything from LBank to CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. We were just listed in the top 10 tokens by trading volume on LBank, which is the number 16th largest exchange in the world, here just a few weeks ago, trading at about $7.5 million per day on our utility token, which is our debt token. So essentially, you can hold those tokens for long-term stored value with the potential for increase. You can cash those tokens in daily, or you can swap those tokens inside of our community and inside of our app. You can swap from one project and ultimately go into another project as well. So there's a few different options within the ecosystem. We've got a few different projects that are now available. They introduce a few new projects every quarter, and they will be doing so for the next 3 to 5 years. We have dozens of projects that are currently in development. The debt token right there, you see at the top left, those licenses are no longer available. That is our utility token. So what I mean by that is it's easier to get one token approved on 20 different exchanges than it is to get 15 different projects on 20 different exchanges. So what we do is in our app, you have the ability with the click of one button to swap from any one of these projects into the debt token. From there, you can take the debt token onto any of the exchanges that we are currently on and liquidate and go directly to your checking account. You do not have to find or go to PancakeSwap and find a buyer before you sell. All of our projects have full liquidity, and you can go from the debt token or any of our projects into your checking account within a matter of about 10 minutes. BGLD was our proof of concept. Those licenses are just selling out right now. We no longer have access to those licenses on the IX side. These licenses started out at $1,000 per license. They are currently retailing, I think Debt has a few, they're still available for about $75,000 per license. So the black gold licenses are no longer available on the wholesale side. Grow licenses are very popular. A newer project came out in the last 5 months. 2 months ago, it was trading at 23 cents per token. Today, it's at about 75 cents per token. So again, another project that's doing exceptionally well among an environment where cryptocurrency is either trading sideways or going backwards. Grow is backed by high yielding agriculture. So hemp, cocoa bean, soybean. We've got a lot of farmers throughout Africa that we currently work with. We have a team that's dedicated to helping these farmers become carbon certified. So we actually take our scan technology, scan their land, and we have the ability to be able to help them become carbon certified. Who buys these carbon credits? Oil companies. They're required to offset their footprint in the world. And so it's essentially free money to these farmers. NatG is probably one of our foundational projects right now. We're getting to the point where we're probably closer to about 70 to 80% sold out on this project. It launched on May 1st. It's up about 4,000%. It's backed by natural gas. The only difference between NatG and BGLD, Black Gold, the tokenomics are the exact same. The only difference really is about 12 months. So a lot of people like that project. Just to go back a little bit, Grow, by the way, the licenses are $2,000 per license. NatG is currently $6,000 per license. If you were to go over to debt to buy a NatG license today, they are currently for sale at $72,000. Now, the reason why we're able to sell these licenses wholesale, they're the exact same licenses, is we buy tens of millions of dollars worth of licenses from debt when the projects first come out. We are the exclusive wholesaler. We have the exclusive rights to these licenses, and we control the price point so that we can accommodate to our audience. So right now, that same license is retailing at $72,000. We currently have it priced at $6,000. Number one, it's still in an accumulation phase. And what I mean by that is it's great to get into these projects early when the mining licenses are paying out the largest amount of tokens. So NatG is currently paying out about 16,800 tokens per day, whereas a BGLD is now paying out about 1,000 light tokens per day. The value's higher, but the goal, at least my goal is to accumulate as many tokens as I can, so that as the value potentially goes up over time, I'm holding a lot of these tokens, right? Think about it in the sense of Bitcoin. When there were people that were literally mining Bitcoin and mining thousands of them a day when it was worth 0.0008, right? You can imagine obviously what happened over time with those individuals. We have DLG, which is backed by its physical counterpart, digitally linked gold. We actually have a vault where we store our gold, and you have the ability to be able to send in or cash in your tokens and actually have that gold sent to you. They'll then take those tokens and send them to a burn wallet. So on our deliverable projects, and this is the first of our deliverables in our precious metals category, they're a little more conservative, a little more like a stable coin. The targets there are 20 to 30% per year. We do not offer any guarantees. You're not going to see the same kind of swings that you would on our non-deliverables like oil and gas. But what we're doing is allowing people to come in and build a portfolio in the same way that you would go, meet with a financial advisor and talk to them about your goals. And they might put 60% in more conservative and 20% in aggressive, or whatever that looks like. We're giving people that opportunity here to be able to build out a portfolio with projects that are backed by commodities that are in high demand. We have Explorer, which is a very exciting project, also been performing exceptionally well. It's up about 5,000% since it launched literally 90 days ago. This project is, we partnered with Boeing, with Google, and with SpaceX, and we are actually in the process of now building our own satellite. What that will do is it'll reduce our costs on all of our scans from about $75,000 down to about $3,000. So the profitability across the board goes way up on all of our projects. With that being said, we'll also be able to lease out space on that satellite, so it'll become a revenue center. And this will be the first token that actually is backed by a satellite in space. That satellite is projected to launch sometime next year. We have aluminum, which aluminum right now is in high demand. If you look at the demand for aluminum over the last 10 years, it's gone through the roof. And if you look at the projections over the next 10 years, it continues to go through the roof. We have partnered with one of the largest bauxite mining companies in the world. They generate about 1.2 million tons of aluminum each year. They're expanding their operation to 5 million tons, and they've hired us as their exploratory partner to essentially help them make that possible. Aluminum is also up close to 5,700% as of this morning, since it launched about 60 days ago. Going back on prices for just a moment, Explorer right now and aluminum are both at our promotional launch pricing, which means the prices will never be that low again. Explorer is $1,500 a license, and aluminum is $1,750 per license. Within 30 days, they'll be double that, just based on how the token is performing and just the supply and the demand, the overall availability of these licenses as they move closer and closer to being sold out. We've got a lot of other projects that are in the works. Blocks is real estate. We have a project called Drip that is, we're very excited about. Drip is, we just found, John, I don't know if I told you this or not, or Mike, kind of unofficial news, but we just found the largest aqueduct underground water in the Midwest, the largest body of water that's been found in the last 50 to 60 years in the United States. Obviously, with the droughts and what's going on in the world, and especially here in the United States right now, water is highly valuable. And so we have a project called Drip that will be coming out. We have other projects that are focused around carbon or copper, and one that is called Swipe. And Swipe, we have partnered with one of the largest credit card companies in the world, one of the most recognizable credit card company names in the world, to bring a scan or a swipe card that you'll be able to use that ties right back to all of these projects, and you'll be able to utilize that the same as you would a debit card. So there's a lot of projects that are in the works, and people are very excited to be part of our ecosystem. There are people that get involved strictly as consumers that want to collect licenses. You know, I started off as a consumer. I started off collecting licenses. Some people collect baseball cards. Some of you guys might remember the Beanie Baby craze. I think they're still out there, where Beanie Babies were going for crazy amounts of dollars. So people collect all kinds of different things, coins, stamps, for stored value purposes. I collect licenses. I have been able to, you know, I'm heavily diversified in a number of different things, and by far this is the best performing asset that I have. So I collect licenses. I started off buying 10 Nat G licenses is where I started. Since then, I've been able to kind of branch out and build my portfolio. Through that process, I couldn't help but just start sharing this with friends, because I have a lot of friends that are in the exact same situation that I am. And I really wasn't setting out to build a business here. Like I said, you can get involved as a consumer, but you can also get involved on the referral side. So you have DebtBox, and then you have IX Global. IX Global is the exclusive wholesaler for DebtBox. They are two totally separate companies. The finances are totally separate. When you get a smart contract, it is with DebtBox. When you get a wallet that you get paid in, it is with DebtBox. But IX Global gives those of us that are in the marketing world. I've been in the network marketing for 19 years and have built some great businesses around the world, and been introduced and connected with some of the best leaders like Mike Healy, like John. I genuinely started out here just to consume, but I started sharing it with some friends. And what I found was, those of you that are marketers, you'll get this. You just know, when you've been doing this as long as I have, when a product's time has arrived. You just know when you've got something that's being well received. You look at what's going on in the world, the recession, people are diversifying, people are looking for stored value. They're looking to be able to make up for the money that they've lost with the consumer goods going up. And here we come along with the world's first community and ecosystem in the cryptocurrency space that's actually backed by something tangible, something real. And so because of that, we've just struck a nerve. And, I started sharing it, started seeing the volume that was associated with, people that were buying these licenses. And after a few weeks of that, I had to reach out to the owner, and I just said, look, I really need to see what your comp plan looks like, because I had people that were buying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of licenses. And literally at that point, when people would ask me questions, I would say, look, I don't know about that. But what I do know is I'm getting paid every single day. Here's my back office. I can send you a presentation that'll explain it better than I can. And people were buying 20, 30, 40, 50,000. And so on July 11th, I made the decision to launch a business here with IX Global and promote these products. Since I've launched that business, in my first month, we generated approximately about 760,000 in volume, which equated to about $4 million in sales. And we generated about 105 to 110,000 in commissions in my first full month. My second full month, we generated about $225,000 in commissions. Right now we're averaging anywhere from 50 on the low end to 140 on a weekly basis in commissions at where we stand today. And that puts me on the, if you go to Business for Home, currently listed as number 6 when it comes to monthly income in the world right now. And I literally have been doing this for 90 days with this company. You can kind of scroll down here, started on July 11th. You can see where the income is coming in from. So binary, we are a binary. For those of you that are builders, you'll appreciate this. We do not have structural requirements here. And what I mean by that is if you've ever built a binary, you might hit certain milestones and certain ranks and certain volumes that you've achieved, but then they'll come back to you and say, oh man, I'm sorry, but you don't have 6 platinums below you, so you don't really get to get paid at this rank, right? It's all these gotchas that are designed to create breakage back to the company. So here, you get 2 on the left and 2 on the right. As long as they're active, you can go to the top of the comp plan. That's it. So that in itself is huge. The second thing that I would share with you is when you start to see what our caps are on a weekly basis, we've got a $2 million monthly cap. Our binary weekly caps, I think I made like 140,000 in the binary last week. The ranks are very easy to achieve because the average sale coming in the door, I think my average is probably right at around 12,000 per sale. And that's kind of somebody coming in and buying one of each license just to get their feet wet. What I have found is that as people get their feet wet, they start collecting the licenses. They start diversifying because they see how well these are performing, and they understand the upside potential that comes from projects that especially many of them are deflationary. And I will touch on that in just a moment. So 400,000 or so in 427,000 in binary in the last 90 days, another 60,000 in sponsor bonuses, almost 70,000. So it's about $500,000 there. 33,000 in rank bonuses. So we're somewhere in the neighborhood of about 550,000 in revenue since July 11th with this project. The company, IX Global, 2.5 years old, launched in India first. The owner of the company is not Indian. He lives in Utah. The company is headquartered out of Utah. He was a network marketer for 15 years, and out of necessity, decided to launch his own company and launched in India because he had some leaders that believed in him, and he started there. And he started as a membership-based company that provided Forex and other markets. They taught them how to trade and provided trade signals and crypto education and NFT education. We went to Latin America earlier this year and just started expanding in Latin America. And when I came on board, they had not yet launched the United States. These X nodes is what we call them internally on the IX Global side. These licenses launched about 120 days ago. And at that time, it was just introduced into the United States. We are really, in our infancy in the United States, and we haven't even been born yet in Europe and Asia. And what I mean by that is that you'll see that happening very, very quickly because we really have no borders. It's a digital product. As long as they're crypto savvy and they can pay with crypto and receive payments in crypto, we can go there. So that gives you kind of an idea of the referral side for those of you that are interested in promoting the product. I'm going to tell you that there's just nothing else out there right now that can compete with the volume, the speed, the agility, and just the messaging that we have with this company. When you go over to and one other point that I want to make that I'm really excited about is I'm promoting a product that I believe in, that I am acquiring licenses, and I have an entirely different revenue stream on that side of things. So I'm essentially building myself up an income producing asset that has the potential, if I wanted to cash it out daily, I could. But for me, that's exciting because I've got something here where I'm earning a great living, taking some of that money and diversifying and buying more licenses. And as I build up those licenses, it's just another income producing asset for me. So I want to show you guys what many get very excited about, which is our back office on the DebtBox side. It's really sharp, and the way that these guys have put this together is just first class in every possible way. So when you log in, you see your dashboard, and that dashboard gives you a quick snapshot of everything that's going on. Now, I wish it was 2 hours ago because we were in the green and everything in one project. So now you see red, but of course it's crypto. We fluctuate up and down day to day, hour to hour. Most of our projects, in fact, we had a fantastic weekend. Most of our projects across the board, NatG was up 9% just over the weekend. So we're seeing a little bit of a slide backwards on that. But you can kind of see what's going on real time with your projects. If I were to click on rewards, these are the licenses that I currently own. I'm collecting licenses. I just picked up two Grow this weekend. I picked up 2 more Explorer, 1 more Aluminum. So I just continually am acquiring more and more licenses. I'm fortunate enough to be named as the Debt Ambassador, so I get a chance to meet the owners and talk with them on a regular basis. I'll be going to Ghana with them in a couple of weeks and bringing a lot of video back to just continue to validate these different debt partners that we have, these different mining facilities that we have. And in that process, it gives me kind of a bird's eye view of what's going on with these projects. Personally, I'm a long-term holder. Most of our projects are deflationary. And what that means is there's two ways that a company can incorporate deflationary mechanisms into their overall platform. So first of all, just basic economics says that when you have a reduced supply or a limited supply and a high demand, value goes up, right? Think of the housing market recently. You had low inventory, high demand. What happened to our prices? So in that same way, cryptocurrency companies or projects can introduce deflationary mechanisms. One way to do it would be through transactions. So every time that there's a transaction, a certain percentage of that transaction is taken and sent to a burn wallet and essentially never used again, right? So over time, as there's more and more transactions, you're reducing the overall supply. Of course, similar to a halving, right? Bitcoin has a halving every 4 years. And if you look historically, every time that Bitcoin has had a halving, it has kicked off a new bull run. Our next halving in crypto is next December. So many believe that that will kind of initiate that next bull run, if you will, and that will, trade sideways up to that point. Nobody has a crystal ball, but that's what a lot of experts think. So we have a halving every year, annual date from the time that our project's launched. We have a deflationary mechanism on the transactions. So every time a transaction is completed, 2% of that gets sent to the burn wallet. But there's another way that you can have deflationary mechanisms, and this is a little more unique, and that is the company can issue buybacks. They can take money and buy tokens that are in circulation, and they can send them to the burn wallet. So what we do that I've never seen any other company out there do is we take our profits that come in from our oil partners, our natural gas partners. And I'm just going to give you an example. The profits that come in, we take that money and we buy tokens up in our ecosystem and we send them to a burn wallet. So right here, you see news that was just introduced last week. On our natural gas project, we just introduced our largest burn to date. Over $3 million and 8 billion tokens were burned on the 19th of last month. We do that typically around the 19th of each month. On BGLD, our oil project, $6 million was burned, which is 1 billion, 200 million tokens that was burned in our ecosystem as well. So what we're doing is we're reducing that supply. You have a growing demand. You have a set amount of licenses and you have a set amount of tokens in circulation. So over time, and the reason why I'm a long-term holder is because our projects were really built to allow the tokenomics to kick in. We're talking a couple of years. And so for me, I'm a 2 to 3 year holder. I was talking to the owner recently. We were having a conversation and I said, do you take profits off the top? A lot of times when these burns happen, you'll see the tokens go up in value. You'll see them spike. We've already burned 2 zeros in that G since May 1st. And he said, Travis, make me a promise. And he said, you can do whatever you want. And I tell you guys the same thing. You can, I have people that do this for daily cash flow. We have people that do this for different reasons. Everybody's scenario is different. This is what he said to me. He said, Travis, don't sell anything for at least a year. And I said, okay, why do you say that? And he said, in 6 months, you'll have a little bit of an idea of what you have in your hands. In a year, you're going to come to me and say, why didn't you tell me to buy more licenses? And then at that point, you can make some decisions. And so I've followed suit to that, and I've just continued to acquire more licenses. I'm at the point now where we're generating approximately $1,000 per day, maybe a little under it, about 900 or so per day, if I were to cash out every single day. But that's not what my purpose is. I really don't focus on what the price point is today. I understand that in a bear market, the decisions that you make in a bear market will build you wealth in the next bull run. It's about accumulation in a bear market. And so for me, too many people get focused on price and they don't understand that price and value are two different things. I understand the value of an ecosystem like this and what it brings to the industry. I understand the value of a project like this that allows you to be able to have peace of mind or a little bit less volatility. Doesn't mean there's not risk. There's risk. I can't guarantee you that your tokens are going to go up. The only thing that I can guarantee you is that you'll have more tokens tomorrow than you do today. But for myself, I had to ask myself 3 questions before I ultimately said, yeah, this makes sense to me. The first question ultimately is, do I believe that cryptocurrency is going to be in higher demand or lower demand in the next few years? Well, I mean, the evidence is all around us. You're seeing the crypto adoption rates just expedite at an enormous rate right now. There's no question that crypto is going to be more and more prevalent. The second question I had to ask myself is, if it's going to be more prevalent, are people going to be looking for projects like this that actually have substance, or are they going to want to run to meme coins that Kim Kardashian is tweeting about, hoping to get lucky? You might still have some people that do that, but most people, they're looking for real world value. And finally, the third thing I had to ask myself is, do I believe that these commodities that are backing these projects are going to continue to be in high demand? Has anybody gone and looked at the price of natural gas in the last 24 months and told me, can you tell me what it's done? It's crazy. It's up 525%. So for me, I mean, gold, it's not at the value. I mean, values may fluctuate, but the demand is always going to be there. It's proven that. So for me, it was a no-brainer. You can see here when I click on my NatG licenses, you see this number going up in real time. Those are tokens that are being deposited into my account. I can click this withdrawal button right now. I can go ahead and put in my password, and I can withdraw those tokens directly from the piggy bank, and they are now in my wallet. I have full possession. I have no restrictions on cashing these out. They went right into here into my NatG license in my wallet. I now have 37 million NatG tokens. Now, let me just paint a picture, and this is a hypothetical example. Obviously, there's no guarantees. However, the reason why I don't care so much about this price being 0.0004, now mind you, we launched it 5 zeros and a 1 120 days ago, 4 months ago. What I am looking for is when we burn 1, 2, and eventually 3 of these zeros, and I'm sitting on this amount of tokens, that's a lot of money. It's a big swing. So where you know, some people kind of get stuck on price today, I'm looking for this to hit a penny. I'm looking for this to hit 5 cents. You know, 5 years from now, I'm looking, maybe 3 to 5 years from now, maybe it hits $1. And I'm sitting on 37 million of these. Now, will that happen? I can't guarantee that, but I like my odds here, and I like the potential. And so that's the reason why I'm involved in the project. And so for me, I am a holder, long-term holder. I'm just accumulating right now. But I'm going to give you another example of the type of people that we're attracting. I had a 70-year-old lady named Jennifer who recently came to us and said, look, I have lost $130,000 in my stock market this year, lost $30,000 last month. She said, this is the money that my husband left me when he passed away. I live on it. I'm down to about a little under 500,000. She says, well, what should I do? And I said, look, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't advise you. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you ultimately make a decision for yourself. These questions will just help you along the way. And I asked her, I said, do you think it's going to get better, or do you think it's going to get worse? She said, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I said, okay, how long do you think it'll take you to recover the money that you've lost? And she says, you know, I don't know. And honestly, I don't know if I have the time. You know, I'm 70 something plus years old, and I really don't have 3 to 5 years or whatever it might take to potentially recover that money. And I said, do you think that it's a wise choice in a down market like we're in to diversify so that you don't have 100% of your money sitting in one place? She says, I actually do think it's wise. I said, okay. And I said, is cash flow or making up the money you lost the most important thing? And she said, honestly, I need cash flow. I said, okay. How much money do you need to make monthly to make a difference? And she said, I need $1,500 a month. I said, okay, $1,500 a month. How does that make a difference for you? And she, of course, listed some of the things that would do and help her peace of mind. I said, all right, so let's just hypothetically look at diversifying. Let's say that we bought 10 NatG licenses for $60,000. So your bulk of your money is staying in your 401k. And let's look at the daily cash flow that one NatG license is producing based on today's value. And so you look at that, it's about $8 a day based on today's values. $8 a day times 10 is 80. Multiply that times 30, that's $2,400 per month in revenue. You take $1,500, you liquidate that every month. You have $900 to be able to put away for potential gains in the future. How do you feel about that? And she said, that to me sounds like something that we should do. So she did that. Her portfolio dropped another 14% last month, but at least now she was able to enjoy exactly the type. In fact, the tokens went up this weekend, and she emailed me and said, you know, we far exceeded where she was at. Now, is there risk there? Could the token go backwards? Yes. But I'm giving you an example of the type of, so that would be someone that's looking for cash flow. I have been able to build myself based on acquiring licenses, many of them when they first came out in price. I've been able to accumulate about a $30,000 a month revenue stream with about $100,000. You guys go tell me any business that you can go buy right now that will pay you a passive income of $30,000 a month with $100,000. Doesn't exist anywhere on the planet. So cash flow potential is there. But for me, I believe in what these projects are going to do over the next couple of years. And that's why I'm a long-term holder. So the only other thing I want to touch on, and I'm going to wrap up, open up for questions, is the fact that every single license is uniquely identified. You have its own digital address. Why is that important? We are not spreadsheet mining here. We are not, and I'll explain that in just a moment. We are not, pulling these together. You have your own individual license. It's your own digital real estate. You can look it up in the blockchain. There's 100% transparency, which is important. Not only that, but because of this, when our projects sell out, they convert to NFTs. It takes about 90 days from the time that the project sells out. Our black gold is our first NFT that's going to be converting in January. At that point, you can go on to OpenSea and you can sell those licenses. What dictates the price? Supply and demand, and what the retail value of the price was selling for before it sold out, which again, Nat G and black gold are selling for $75,000 or a little under that right now. Some of you might be familiar with Gala Coin and Gala nodes. Gala nodes launched at $1,000 per coin. Today they're sold out. The only way you can get a license is if you buy it on OpenSea. And the price on those nodes is anywhere from, I've seen them as low as 80 and as high as over 100,000. And that project did not perform nearly as well as black gold did. So you also have the ability to be able to accumulate assets, real estate, that you can sell should you want to in the future. So that's a big deal here. And the only other thing that I want to touch on is we, those of us that have been in this industry are familiar with the one coins and some of these scams that have been out there where they say they were mining, but the reality was they were spreadsheet mining. What does that mean? It means that the money coming in the door was being used to pay out. They said they were mining, but the reality is as long as there was enough people coming in the front door to pay out, what they believed should be paid out, they were good. The problem is like any pyramid, eventually it collapses. So here's the beautiful thing. Debt is a separate company. They started long before, IX Global received the exclusive rights. The money that is being paid out comes from debt on these licenses. They have nothing to do with IX Global. IX Global is an entirely different company. There is a complete arm's length separation. All IX Global does is sell software. That's what keeps it legal, and that's the box that we stay in. We sell hardware or software that allows you to be able to mine commodity-backed projects that are provided by DebtBox. That separation gives people a lot of comfort. It does me personally. That was one of the key variables here, and I know, John, you're keen on that as well. So, other than that, I think that we've done a good job today of kind of covering a lot. I know it's like drinking from a fire hose, but wanted to give you guys a really good, thorough understanding of what's available here from a consumer side, what's available on the building side, and from there we can go ahead and open up for some questions. Looks like Jordan, you have your hand up, and so before we get into questions, John or Mike, is there anything that you guys want to add, and then we can open up?
Yeah, I just sent my bank account number to you. You could just take everything in there, take it all. So I'm just that was incredible. So I know what my team's thinking, and there's a bunch of teams out here. Cowboys got a team on here. There's Eddie. Eddie was the one that actually initiated this. I'm just saying we've done well. We've done well with nodes. We've done well in crypto. And this is absolutely. It is not just the offering. It is the system behind it and the software that is allowing us to see everything in real time. I love that I can separate this and have somebody that wants to diversify their portfolios. We just talked this morning to somebody who diversified, a $5 million portfolio, right? And we know how to do that. I mean, we actually do that. So I'm just saying this is incredible for us. It's incredible. But I'm going to shut up and maybe you can click on some of those hands and answer some questions there. Thank you so much, Travis.
Jordan, feel free to unmute. Fire away. I'll do my best to answer questions.
Absolutely. First and foremost, Travis, an absolutely beautiful presentation. Definitely, I'm very excited about the vision of where Debt is going. And of course, I have to say thank you to John Rakatan, Dwight Cribb for inviting me over to this presentation. My question is a more so the marketing question. I know that attention creates awareness. That's one of the key principles of marketing. And so understanding that we have these small Zoom presentations going on, is there more opportunity for us to, because I run a YouTube channel, is there more opportunity to bring debt awareness in that facility, or what is the due diligence the company wants us to go when promoting?
So they are starting to crack down on compliance a little bit, which is good. They want to protect the house. At this stage, it's pretty common sense stuff, right? You're not using the word investment. You're not using the word guarantee. You're not using the words return. You are not, you're staying generic in nature when it comes to, you're using the word potential, right? Like the potential for growth, those type of things. As long as you're inside of that box, you're good. You can utilize YouTube videos. At this point, I have a ton of YouTube videos that are up, and I have not submitted one of them to compliance, and nor has compliance given me a hard time. I do include a disclaimer on all of my videos. So both written and usually before I start any presentation, I'll give a disclaimer that says I'm not a financial advisor. Cryptocurrency is risky and volatile. There may be no recourse for losses incurred, and past performance doesn't guarantee future results, right? So I typically start there, and people appreciate that. I think that I'm a big believer that we've got such a great product that the truth is good enough. And so as long as we don't exaggerate it and we just speak to what it is, we're going to be okay. And so far, there haven't been any restrictions on what the company tells me I can or can't do.
Beautiful. No, that resonates with me. I've been doing that on a lot of my videos too, just attaching a disclaimer on there. So now that I know, I can get to work. Once again, very grateful for you, Travis. Thanks, you.
Jordan. Appreciate it. Questions? Any other questions? Let me see who else has their hand up here. Cowboy Jeff, how you feeling, brother?
I'm sort of mad at you, man. I hadn't been able to sleep in like 3 days because of the first freaking Zoom we did. No, to be honest, hey, and it's not the money. I needed something to make me feel alive again, give me hope again. I think that WCL has the best freaking blockchain ever created. The nodes are great, but man, I'm not going to miss a great opportunity just because I'm in one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And God almighty, y'all, the website, the training, the app, I can't see y'all missed anything. You've made everything simple in crypto, and that's what was needed, especially for people like me. You got to talk slow, and I have to write with crayons, but this has made it all simple. But yeah, thank you, man. Every time I hear you on a presentation, it just gets better and better.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. I don't know if I'm missing any hands, or if there's any other questions, feel free to unmute. And if not, then Mike and John and any of the other leaders that want to jump on, feel free to jump in.
I think we might be good. I don't hear any.
Shelley.
Travis.
Hold on. Shelley does have a question. I think.
Go ahead, Shelley.
Hey, Travis, and ditto, awesome job. Wondered early on in your presentation today, you mentioned that currently we're mining for free. When you were talking about, supply chain issues and getting the actual physical boxes.
Right.
Can you speak a little bit further to that?
Yeah, so right now there will be a cloud mining fee if somebody wants to continue to cloud mine, simply because you have the option to get the box sent to you. So the box will hold up to 20 licenses on it. If you're a big license holder like I am, cloud mining is probably going to make more sense than to me to have 4 or 5 of these boxes. I think that there will be, minimal pricing, like cloud mining type of options. So just like if you were hosting a website, you might spend $9.95, right? Or if you have a bundle of them and you have, let's say, up to 30 licenses, then you might have $29 a month. So they haven't come out with that pricing yet. They're doing it for free right now, simply because the box is not an option. If you don't want to pay the cloud mining fee, you can have the box or acquire the box and have it sent to you as well. So we'll know a little bit more of what that looks like. They haven't come out with the firm guidelines on it. They've just set the expectation that when the boxes do come available, at that point, there will be, a cloud mining option that's available, which, by the way, will have BB attached to it as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet. So regulation, it's a great question. I think regulation is actually a good thing. And I know, and before people jump all over me for saying that, let me explain. I think that regulation when it comes to exchanges is a great thing. Nobody should lose their money in an exchange like what we've seen with Celsius and some of these exchanges, right? There should be, at a certain point, some level of your money should be backed the same way it's backed in a bank. However, and we may not ever get to that point where it's federally backed. However, there should be some level of scrutiny and regulation for these exchanges, because without it, it creates that concern about you're having your money or holding your money in those exchanges. So from a regulation standpoint, I think that's a good thing. I think ICOs should be a little bit more regulated, so that they're not just coming out with these empty promises and telling you, hey, listen, Shelly, you can buy, invest $100,000, you'll get 10 million of these tokens. And you know what? These tokens are going to be worth so much money in the future. And the reality is they haven't even built a blockchain yet or anything. So I think certain regulations are going to progress us. Now, with that being said, and I followed this very closely, it doesn't matter if you're on the right or on the left. If you look at the bills that have been presented, both sides are being very, very careful about what they truly will allow to be passed, because they don't want to kill crypto, because they know the devastating effects that it'll have, because blockchain is now intertwined into so much. Every major banking institution today is adding it to their Fidelity just added crypto to their portfolios. I mean, it's so intertwined now. They know that they overregulate it, they kill it. Now, somebody says, well, what about a federal coin? They can introduce it. Let me ask you guys a question. You going to buy it? Like, it defeats the entire purpose of what cryptocurrency is all about. So I think that regulation is not necessarily a bad thing. I think that it'll clean up the wild, wild west, and it'll allow us to have that evolution. But I think that we're too far along, and both sides want to see the progression. They want digital currency truly is the future. And I think that they recognize that. So I'm not so concerned about it. Some people ask, well, what about like oil reserves, the regulation there? The good news is a lot of our projects are on private land. If we were only in one oil well and it was on federal land and that project was backed by that one oil well, I would be concerned. But we have dozens of oil wells around the world. Many of them are on private land. So we're diversified enough that from a regulation standpoint on that side of things, we're still okay there as well. So somebody asked if I were a novice, what would I recommend investing in? It depends on where somebody is starting, right? So if somebody came to me and said, look, I've got $6,000, what should I do? One could argue that you could go buy 3 or 4 aluminum or Explorer right now, or 2 of each. And that's not a bad place to start. And actually on a day-to-day right now, that would outperform the amount of revenue that you're creating on NatG. But the flip side of that coin is, I personally believe that the greatest upside potential long-term is NatG. I also know that NatG licenses are getting closer and closer to being sold out, and maybe sold out by January. So if it were me, and this is just me, and again, I'm not an advisor, it's just my personal opinion. Personally, I would pick up a NatG, because it's still putting out 16,800 tokens a day. So you're in great accumulation. You have time to pick up the other licenses because they're newer projects. So you can add those down the road, and the price points are still at their promotional level. Whereas NatG, when it's gone, it's gone. And I know what happened when Black Gold sold out. People freaked out because they wanted to be able to get their hands on them and they couldn't anymore. So if it were me, I'd buy that. Now, somebody said I have 12 grand, I'd buy one of each. It's a great place to start. That's kind of your portfolio starter. You get one of each project. I'm not a big gold. I don't buy gold personally because I'm not here. I'm not looking for the more conservatives. I'm looking for some good upside potential. So you can pick up one of each for roughly 12 grand. Now, somebody said I had 20 or 25. I'd probably put them in 2 to 3 NatGs, and then I'd supplement the rest around aluminum and Explorer. So it really depends on where you're looking to start, and that is going to dictate where I would recommend that where you go. The rental side. So we do have rentals. Rentals are designed for people that don't necessarily have the ability to buy a license. So you can actually rent a license here for a cycle. A cycle depends on a number of things, including what's the price of that token at that time. So for example, right now a NatG license, the last time that the NatGs were available, and they should be coming available again pretty soon, they were $250 per license for a 50-day cycle. So anything you accumulate during that 50-day period, you get to keep. You can decide at the end of the 50 days if you want to re-up. Don't necessarily guarantee that you're going to get it. You might have to go back on the waiting list for a week or two until some more licenses come available, just because of the demand for it. Black gold, we have about 15,000 black gold rentals in circulation. So for those of you that want to get your hands on a black gold, you can do that. And this morning on the corporate update call, they just announced that they're going to be introducing grow and aluminum rentals coming soon. So I use them two ways. I use them as a stepping stone for somebody that can't afford to buy a license, to get them at least started in the path and the direction towards being able to own eventually. And I also use them to supplement. So for somebody that's wanting to accumulate right now, buy licenses, but when they come available, rent some too. Get on top, because you can go rent 3, 4, 5 Nat G licenses and accumulate in that 50 days a good amount of tokens. But it's not a 10-year license, right? But you can still pick up a good chunk right now. So whenever they're available, I actually add rentals on top of my ownership as well. And from a business building standpoint, guys, you'll love this because it just drives a ton of volume inside of your organization perpetually.
Travis, I think Jordan Rosario had another question.
Oh, I did have a question, but Travis answered it with the rental licenses.
Okay.
Got it. I
We
texted John during the presentation, said you were absolutely killing it. And he replied back, shut up and take my money.
So a couple ways you guys can buy licenses. First of all, number one, if you haven't done so yet, you got to get your position. And if you guys know binaries and you know timing and you know, get your position, right? I mean, solidify it, lock it in. That way, anything that happens from that point forward is going to happen below you, right? So number one, get your position locked in. Whoever invited you, make sure you get with them. You got two options. You can buy a $50 membership, which is kind of like a customer option. It allows you to be active as a member for 28 days, buy as many licenses as you want. $115 allows you to be able to qualify for the commission side of things. We do have other memberships that are $145 and $180 that will get you into Forex trading, and our Forex trading is fantastic. The signals are amazing. Every Monday they publish the results, and they're through the roof. Our traders are some of the best out there in the world. So if you decide you have an interest in that, those are available to you as well. But a minimum of 115 if you want to be qualified to build the business. And so step one is enroll, create your account. You'll get a little email emailed to you, confirm and set your password, log in. It'll ask you, do you want to upgrade your membership? From that point, if you just want to buy nodes, go ahead and select $50. If you want to build the business, go ahead and select the 115. Once you've done that, the person who enrolled you they'll place you in their structure. And then you can go in and you can now buy your licenses. We accept crypto, pretty much all forms, USDT, USDC, Bitcoin, Ethereum. And we also accept money wires over $1,000. So you can go add your nodes to a shopping cart, check out. If you're sending a wire, then you can select COD, cash on delivery. And then when you check out, it'll go into pending status. And then there's wire instructions that these guys can send you. You'll follow those step-by-step wiring instructions. As soon as the wire is received, they'll confirm it, they'll process it. Your licenses will be assigned within a couple of days.
Hey, Travis, I'll make a quick comment. J-Rack gave me permission. So we have this recorded, by the way, so we're getting it recorded. And then J-Rack's going to get me the recording of it, and I'll put it on a private website. So we're not putting this one out there on YouTube or anything. We'll just have a standalone website that you can just send people to. It's generic. Nobody can sign up there. That way you guys can, if you want to just edify how well this presentation was done and have them watch it so they can see what you just saw, it makes this thing go. And then Travis and I are going to probably this week, you didn't know this, Travis, but this week you're going to help. We're going to do some training videos. We're going to do some very basic training videos, like how to place somebody, how to buy a node, how to get promoted at certain things. We'll just put those together. I'll end up having those on a specific standalone website as well, so that you can just basically get somebody to, watch this one, and then get them to, once they join, we'll send them to the training thing, boom, 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 boom. And then obviously we'll do these Zooms on a regular basis too. So we'll get it done really, I'll get it done quick. I don't mess around, because this thing, like Travis said, I mean, I literally am kicking myself that I wasted 90 days after seeing the money that Travis just made, because we were in the same company together just a little bit ago, and I knew where he was at and what he was doing, and you kind of notice his laid back kind of the way he talked and everything. Yeah, I'm just making, I made $500,000. It's no big deal. 90 days. All right. I'm sitting there like this going, 90
He
days.
ignored me for 3
I
times.
did. I'm
called him
sorry.
3
I feel like an
times.
idiot.
He
Hey.
ignored me 3 times, but the
And-
4th message I left him, he returned my phone call.
Thank God for my smart wife. Jeez Louise. So
Yes,
anyhow, J-Rack, we'll pass it on to you, buddy.
Hey, thanks everybody for being here. We appreciate it in the middle of the afternoon. Get back with the person that brought you here. Get in the system, so you can see it. I'm going to tell you the back office is incredible. The training is incredible. We're going to grow. We're going to grow at this side. Now we're diversifying, and I love that we're able to, market nodes all over the world now. So thanks, Mike, so much for introducing us. Thank you, Travis, for doing this, and thank you, everybody else, for getting on here and believing in us again. And I'm telling you, the more I hear this, the more it just it sends a note that we got to diversify. We have to diversify for this looming economy, right? Especially the global economy. So appreciate all of you. You guys have a great day, and we'll have this available here in a little bit. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Good job, Travis.
Thank you, everybody.
Recording stopped.